Crises and the beginning of the Second World War. When did the Second World War begin? The Second World War began on September 1, 1939. On this day, Germany invaded Poland. This was preceded by a series of geopolitical events, conflicts, and crises that had been developing in the world for 20 years. The results of the First World War served as a prerequisite for them. At the end of the First World War, Germany was defeated. Candidate of Historical Sciences Alexander Patarin, in the article The Second World War, the greatest tragedy of the 20th century, claims that this fact was the reason for the intensive development of ideas of nationalism and revanchism in the country. On this basis, Adolf Hitler came to power at the head of the National Socialist Workers' Party. At the same time, Japan was actively militarizing the country in the eastern part of the world. She has made it clear that she plans expansion towards China and the United States. The USSR was strengthening in Eurasia. Thus, 3/10 points of interstate relations have formed in the world: Japan, USA and USSR, Germany and Italy, Great Britain and France. USSR, Germany. The military threat from Germany was growing. The country claimed neighboring territories and violated all agreements. Britain and France responded with sanctions. According to the German military historian Kurt von Tippelskirch, they hoped to push Germany and the USSR together and thus get rid of two rivals on the world stage at once. Why did the Second World War start? The Second World War began for the following reasons. The reparations imposed on Germany after the defeat in the First World War caused discontent among the Germans. Despite the prohibitions, Germany has been building up its military power since 1930. Italy, led by dictator Benito Mussolini, pursued its aggressive policy towards other states. In 1936, Germany, Italy and Japan concluded the Anti-Comintern Pact. After that, Japan invaded China. Germany freely annexed the Sudetenland of Czechoslovakia, partly the Czech Republic and Moravia, in 1938. Europe did not react properly, and the aggressor country went unpunished. Great Britain and France refused to sign a military convention with the USSR. Germany used this to its advantage and, in August 1939, signed a non-aggression pact with the USSR, in a secret addendum to which agreements on the division of interests in Eastern Europe were listed. 2 weeks later, German troops invaded Poland. Great Britain and France, which had given Poland security guarantees, declared war on Germany on September 3, 1939, in response to German aggression. The course of the Second World War: the following 9 months of military relations between France, Great Britain, and Germany were called the Strange War. Thanks to the French military journalist Roland Dorgelis, there was practically no direct fighting. Only local skirmishes on defensive lines and battles at sea. The long pause allowed the Germans to fully complete their military campaign in Poland, capture Norway and Denmark, and prepare for a large-scale invasion of France with the support of allied Italy. As a result of the full-scale operation of the European Blitzkrieg, Germany captured Iceland, Greenland, the Faroe Islands, Luxembourg, Belgium, the Netherlands, and began bombing Great Britain. At the same time, the USSR realized its geopolitical interests by annexing strategically important parts of Finland, Bessarabia, and the Baltic states. Italy began an active war for dominance in the Mediterranean sector. Her troops attacked Britain's northeastern colonies in Africa, and also make an unsuccessful attempt to capture Greece. Defeated on almost all fronts, Benito Mussolini asks for Hitler's help. German attack on the USSR. Many historians still cannot come to a single conclusion whether Hitler planned to attack the USSR at the very beginning, or made this decision already on the move. But even in Mein Kampf, there is a cursory forecast of such a development. In the book The Beginning of the Great Patriotic War, Doctor of Historical Sciences Viktor Anfilov argues that it was precisely the opposition to the Soviet Union that Hitler assigned a special place on Germany's path to world domination. He believed that, Having achieved success on this front, the Germans would be the winners. After some territorial disagreements with the Soviet Union in 1940, Adolf Hitler ordered the development of the Barbarossa Plan for the German invasion of the USSR. Joseph Stalin feels the growing tension. Acting ahead of the curve, the Soviet leader conducts a wave of training camps and preparatory military events throughout the country. Germany declares war on the USSR on June 22, 1941. France and Great Britain immediately support the alliance, and this is the beginning of the creation of an anti-Hitler coalition, which will eventually include most of the countries fighting fascism. Despite the readiness of the Soviet troops, the Germans conquer Belarus, Lithuania, Latvia, partly Ukraine and Moldova in record time. Already in December 1941, Japan launched a raid on the American naval base Pearl Harbor. In response, he receives a declaration of war not only from the United States, but also from Canada, Great Britain, and other countries. In response to direct US intervention, Germany, Italy, and their allies declare war on them. By this time, the formations of the warring parties have already been completed. Who fought with whom in the Second World War? In World War E, the countries of the anti-Hitler coalition Poland, Great Britain, France, the USSR, the USA, and others fought with the Axis countries Germany, Italy, Japan, Hungary, and others. The turning point, despite the rapid success of the Germans on the Western Front, the advantage on the Eastern Front was shifting from side to side. Hitler never managed to occupy Moscow, and Soviet troops kept launching a counteroffensive, although this did not help break the siege of Leningrad, which eventually lasted 872 days. The turning point of the Second World War is considered to be the largest tank battle in history. The Battle of Stalingrad, which lasted more than 3 months. The total losses on both sides amounted to about 2.5 million people and more than 4,000 tanks. In the book The Battle of Stalingrad, author Sergei Byelinin quotes from the diaries of demoralized German soldiers and recordings of inspired Soviet soldiers. He argues that the key achievement of this victory is not in the number of people killed or equipment destroyed, but in the reversal of the mood of the war in favor of the Soviet army and its allies. After Stalingrad, a large-scale counteroffensive of the Soviet army and its allies begins on all fronts, with victories at the Kursk Bulge, in the battle for the Dnieper, in the battles for Ukraine and Belarus. The countries of the anti-Hitler coalition are picking up the wave and moving on to the strategic bombing of Germany, the Normandy landings, and the breakthrough of the Western Front. These successes give impetus to the rapid advance of the Soviet troops. In April 1945, they found themselves near Berlin. Adolf Hitler and Joseph Goebbels commit suicide. After 2 weeks of fighting for the German capital on the night of May 8 to 9th, the German military command signs the Act of Surrender. The country is divided into 4 occupation zones: American, British, French, and Soviet. The end of the Asian War. Hiroshima and Nagasaki. After the defeat of Germany, the Axis countries take turns laying down their weapons. Japan remains the only one that continues to fight. In July 1945, America presented the Japanese with an ultimatum to stop the war, but they rejected it. The United States drops atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki on August 6 and 9th. This is the first time in history that atomic weapons have been deliberately used against humans. About 500,000 people die. The war was over. The atomic bomb. When did the Second World War end? The Second World War ended on September 2, 1945. The final point was the signing by Japan of the Act of Surrender. Who won the Second World War? In World War E, The countries of the anti-Hitler coalition and their allies won. DSR, the USA, Great Britain, France, Greece, China and others. In the article How to Calculate Losses in the Second World War, historian Boris Sokolov cites the total number of deaths in all countries. In his opinion, it amounted to almost 82.5 million people. This is the largest death toll in the history of wars on the planet. The Second World War was a tragic period in the history of mankind. Due to the insufficiently harsh reaction of countries to German aggression, the world plunged into bloody battles for 6 years. The war fundamentally changed the existing world order at that time. The echoes of its consequences are felt even now, after almost 100 years.